Well, this is Gil Gullickson. I'm the Crops Technology Editor for Successful Farming Magazine. Well, this is the time of the year for the winter meeting season, and I've been to a few so far this month. One in particular was the University of Illinois Ag Masters Conference held at the University of Illinois campus in Champaign-Urbana. And there were a number of interesting topics that were discussed there. Number one, if there's any type of weed you want to look for in your fields in 2014, it'll probably be one of these two, water hemp and Palmer amaranth. Those are a dastardly duo. Quite a few of you are familiar in the Midwest with water hemp. It's very prevalent in states like Iowa, gets up to South Dakota, North Dakota, and a growing share of it is resistant to glyphosate on top of resistance to ALS inhibitor chemistries like Pursuit. The other one is Palmer amaranth, which is very common in the Mid-South, and it's moving north. It's moving up northward as far as Michigan, and that is even a nastier type of pigweed than water hemp. It has a very thick stalk, and that too is also resistant to glyphosate in a number of cases. Now basically there are ways to battle it. Number one, the experts recommend putting down a residual pre-emergence herbicide. That can give you protection 30 days or so, maybe up to 6 weeks, and that can enable your crop to get off to a good start while limiting the weed competition. Now, you have to know your weed population to make sure that it's not resistant to the herbicides that you'll put on it. When you follow up a pre-emergence herbicide with a post-emergence herbicide, you get a good protection package for the growing season. Now, it's very important that you also mix up multiple modes of action in your herbicide mix, because if it's resistant to one class of chemistry, you want to make sure you have an effective chemistry class to take care of it. Well, speaking of resistance, there are also cases in rootworm trait protection where the rootworms have exhibited resistance to traits. Now in 2013, this did occur in a number of cases, mainly in continuous corn, and also when the same rootworm trait was used repeatedly. So to prevent that, in 2014, extension entomologists recommend mixing up your rootworm trait package, and also you may want to rotate to another crop like soybeans. In most cases, that will be an effective rootworm control option. Now, one thing to consider, volunteer corn in a soybean field, besides being a pain in the neck weed, it also can serve as a haven for rootworms flying in from other fields and laying their eggs. So you want to make sure to control that volunteer corn, because it just provides a good source of nutrients for rootworm. And in the case of rootworms that are resistant to the trait, it also can provide them a place to lay eggs and come back and haunt you the next year if you plant corn. One of the interesting things that popped up during the Ag Masters Conference was we often think of our competitors in agriculture in South America or the European Union. Well, I didn't know before that 15% of the world's food is grown in urban settings. And one of the speakers talked about some of the farms that are popping up in inner cities like Chicago, Detroit, Milwaukee. In fact, there's a group called Hance Farms in Detroit that is trying to reclaim a number of blighted neighborhoods in inner city Detroit and putting them in agriculture, whether it be woodlands or vegetable production or what have you. And this shows that agriculture can thrive anywhere, including cities. So that was kind of an eye-opener, something you don't usually pick up in an agricultural meeting. Well, for Successful Farming, I'm Gil Gullickson.